Xu Qinduo. He's a political analyst with China Radio International. Why don't we start there? I want to get your thoughts on all these varied reactions to this UN vote. The U.S. president, you'd think he'd be delighted. He says the sanctions not that big a deal. You've got the DPRK fully rejecting the new UN sanctions. Chinese saying they hope the resolution will be implemented comprehensively and completely. And then, as Jessica was pointing out, the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and others saying that they're going to lean on China to try and help to solve this problem. What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think this is, so far this, very strong sweeping sanctions against North Korea for its latest nuclear test. This is justifiable if you look at the unanimity of the UN General Security Council. Basically, all members voted for the latest resolution. I think this will send a clear message, a strong message to North Korea that their behavior, their pursuit of nuclear weapons is against the will of the international community. It's not only about the US, not only about South Korea, it's also about China, Russia, and many other countries. And secondly, I think for China, this is something we have to do, hopefully. Not only the sanctions, not only is to punish the violation by North Korea against on the previous UN resolutions, but also the purpose to pressure or to bring North Korea to the negotiation table so we can solve this problem, at least to initiate or start this negotiating, this peace process through dialogue between North Korea and obviously South Korea and the United States. Unfortunately, China's proposal of suspension for suspension is not accepted by the U.S. side. And, sanction alone, it's very difficult probably to pressure North Korea to give in, as in the previous cases, very few sanctions are successful actually. But there will be pressure on North Korea. Hopefully they will take that into careful consideration, when probably they will continue with other tests, missile tests or nuclear tests.
What can we hope to come from these talks between Yang Jiechi and Rex Tillerson? He's also, as Jessica pointed out, meeting with H.R. McMaster tomorrow. Do you think that they can come to some kind of basically game plan on how to move forward?
I hope like they can talk about not only sanctions on specific North Korean behavior, but also they could somehow work out a grand plan, a big plan, or contingency plan that what if there's a contamination, a leakage of the nuclear weapons, from North Korea, and what if there's a worst scenario, say the U.S. launched a preemptive attack against North Korea. What U.S. and China can do to make sure the situation in East Asia will largely remain, stable, and they will work together to take care of the aftermath of whatever coming out of this worst scenario. So I think they do need to talk about a long-term plan, not only the sanctions against North Korea, but of course, Chancellor Yang Jiechi's visit obviously is preparing for the upcoming state visit by President Trump to China. This is the first for the president, and obviously Chinese side, give a lot of importance to the upcoming visit. But North Korea, nuclear issue will be one of the top priority for their talks between the presidents, and of course, trade and other issues will also be included, in their dialogue.
You mentioned the freeze. China's putting a proposal out there. Donald Trump made a great deal of hay about what a deal maker he is, but in order to deal with somebody, in order to have a negotiation, you have to put some stuff out there on the table. It doesn't seem like the U.S. is willing to do so. How do you get all these sides to the table to work on a diplomatic solution?
Exactly. It's very unfortunate to see that the U.S. side has refused, to talk to North Korea. They said, yeah, we can start the talks, but you have to do this and that. Seems it's like a conditional negotiation. You have to give up your nuclear weapons, then we can start the negotiation. But also remember, North Korea, it's almost impossible to ask them to give up their nuclear development at this stage. I think, the Chinese idea is workable in the sense that, as long as we start to talk to each other, and we can see, what are the conditions, your conditions, my conditions. Is there any compromise? Is there any common ground? We can make a deal. As the president said, we can somehow provide what you need, like security, we will probably promise you, like, we will not attack you. As Secretary of State Tillerson said, there's no pursuit of regime change, no military moves against North Korea. If that made somehow, a firm offer to North Korea, and North Korean side say, let's reach a peace deal to make sure there will be not war, not military threat from the U.S. side against North Korea, maybe they might, take some action to scale down their nuclear development. But we have to start from talking to each other.
Mr. Xu, thanks so much for joining us from Beijing. Appreciate it.